Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, family. How are you? I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. I hope you're having a wonderful Thursday because you know a wonderful Thursday sometimes correlates into a very, very good weekend, particularly as we head into Thanksgiving week. You know, brothers and sisters, I have run the gambit of emotions. I have run the gambit of ideas, creative content, and just really reason and logic. You know, it does not, it's not something that's wasted upon me about the justice system that we call fair here in the United States, accessible here in the United States, because a lot of times it is not fair and it is not accessible. And as I said in the lead up, if you read the byline for what the show is, okay, the American justice system, brothers and sisters, from a person like me, a lay person, not someone who's been trained in law or a judge or some type of legal scholar, it has evidenced itself to me that the legal system is a joke. That people are literally running amok of the legal system. Meanwhile, there are those people who suffer the brunt and the toughest of the penalties of the legal system. And we sit here sometimes and we didn't understand that the law for this one is not applicable for law for this one. And yes, brothers and sisters, there's white law, there's black law, and then there's no justice. So on this one, I decided to break it down, and I'm going to give some kudos to Sister Satana right up front, because we're going to be moving around a little bit. We're going to be bringing in some videos, and this will be relatively a fairly quick show, just so you guys know. And the reason I'm saying is because we're going to bring in some things and we're going to be discussing them. I have held out about some of the things that have been going on legally. One of the things I held out was essentially, and you know, Allah's merciful. But in the state of Oklahoma, the governor stayed the execution of a young Julius Jones. What that means, brothers and sisters, is a man who had been on death row for 20 years for a crime he did not commit. That's what they say, but for a crime he didn't commit. And I have to throw this in, that there are people going, are you looking at the evidence in the case? Not only should he not be sentenced to death, but he should be given clemency. He did not do the crime. So much so, brothers and sisters, that the European Union sent a letter over to Oklahoma telling them that we disagree with the findings of this trial and this man should not be executed. In fact, he should be free. I don't know of any black man, brothers and sisters, whose case has been so egregious that foreign countries send letters over going, we do not agree with you. They are willing to meddle in the affairs of local law, state law, to going, this is not right. Because Julius Jones is accused of killing someone, brothers and sisters. The description of the killer was that he had long hair. Julius Jones was bald. In fact, the person who implicated Julius Jones, a person who committed to the murder, let me say this, that he confessed to the murder. This person not only confessed to the murder, but he's been released from prison. He was never on death row. He's out walking around freely, and we're still talking about having the right and campaign for this man not to be electrocuted, not to lose his life. Now, brothers and sisters, that's a serious case. But my point is, we now have to have all these things like the Innocence Projects. You know, the Innocent Projects in Philadelphia and Chicago that go around trying to go through people's cases and get them exonerated. What we really need, brothers and sisters, are you ready? We need basically I want to say like a project that points out people who are incapable of doing their job. People who avoid a reason, they should not have these jobs. They should not be. And why don't we have an incompetence project? In the incompetence project, we go around and we focus on all the people in the legal system who are not competent to make decisions about other people's lives. Now, this whole thing will probably shake out about Mr. Julius Jones, you know, and what is his reward, brothers and sisters? What's his reward? Because this is the cruelest joke of all. That they did not execute the man and take his life, but instead, they gave him life without the possibility of parole. I'm just telling you, brothers and sisters, we got a lot to talk about here on the Shout Out Show. I don't want to delay. Satan, let's go ahead and get him started. Preacher Moss, SOS. All right, brothers and sisters, you know how this goes. We need to have an incompetence project, and you know what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters. In fact, let me get this straight here. Every boy has something that's messed up a little bit, but we need to have an incompetence project because this seems to be the thing that's worrying a lot of folks, including myself. Just the fact, brothers and sisters, that these things continue to happen. And I believe more and more we're settling and we're creating these things and giving them a space of normalcy where it should happen. Meanwhile, you have cases in Georgia, you have cases in Wisconsin of people who actually committed murder being shown these acts of not only compassion, but being put in spaces where people can doubt the facts that actually happen. So I'm going to make this quick, brothers and sisters. You know, I have to do this. So in Georgia, brothers and sisters, we have a situation that is so far off the plantation, so far off the reservation, it is literally egregious. And this is almost 2 years later, we still haven't gotten a verdict in the Ahmaud Arbery case. Many of you were there at the time I went on a rant about this young man being killed while he was jogging. And it was not just he was being killed, he was jogging. It's that we found out by accident through a video that was released through a radio station that this is the way the young man was killed. And people who exonerated basically said there was no case. They let these two men go, father and son, let them go. And they were walking around until there was public outcry about what happened. Now, we're going to get to it in a minute. I don't want to be rude. We got people in our shout out show in the comment section. Let's go ahead and bring them in, Satana, real quick. First up, we got Sister V. How you doing, Sister V? Peace and blessings to you as always. We hope that you're doing well. Thank you so much for being such a supporter of the Shout Out Show. Hope you're doing well and hope you're feeling well. I made the dua for you today. So I hope that dua is doing some good. All right. Peace and blessings to your husband and your son. Next up, Satana, you know it's supposed to go last. We got Altaf Rashid, my main man, Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down from, of all places, brothers and sisters, Toronto, Ontario. Now, Altaf, I don't know how they do it in Toronto in terms of justice, but in America, we got a whole different flavor down here. To be so close on the border, it's a totally different flavor. We hope you're doing well, man. We hope your family's doing well. Again, thank you so much for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, our Canadian ambassador to the show, Altaf Rashid, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, my brother. Thank you very much. Next up, Bilal Salahuddin. We had your wife on yesterday. She was representing for Salahuddin crowd, brother. How you doing, man? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for coming in to the show. We appreciate you on the platform. Feel free to chime in, brother, because it's going to be a handful today. I can feel it. Thank you so much for coming on. Next up, we got Johnny L. Thomas, better known as JT. What's going on? I had a great conversation with my little brother earlier today. Keep in mind, we're going to keep in mind, and brothers and sisters, we're going to pray for our good brother, comedian Marlon Hill, who was diagnosed with COVID yesterday. We're going to make sure we send out peace and blessings, and may Allah give him shifa. We hope you feel better, brother Marlon. Thank you so much. JT, thank you so much for coming on the show. Next up, that's it. We got Sister Mary Moss. We got Mama Son talking about ineptitude. Really seems it's the same as always, yeah, except it's just at a higher space. We are seeing so much ineptitude these days with our justice system, our criminal justice system, that literally it's got to the point where we're saturated with less than mediocrity, and people generally have become apathetic to what they see. That's the thing I want to worry about, and that's the thing I want to talk about a little bit today. All right, Mom, thanks for coming on the show. Next up, we got Sister Satana, the consultant producer of course, the Shout Out Show, who will be doing magic today, brothers and sisters, in the back, as she's trying to load up the videos that make us smile and make us go, oh, hell no. All right, we appreciate you, Sister Tana. We're going to keep this going. So, brothers and sisters, I have to preface this thing by how people try to manipulate justice. Hear what I'm saying now. How people try to manipulate justice on the most, I want to say, some of the most ridiculous things they can have. So let me throw this to you. In Georgia, where Ahmaud Arbery was murdered, you have 3 people on trial for murder. Now, the overwhelming evidence shows them, you've seen this before. You've seen, I don't have to say it. It's hideous. We're not trying to bring that video up. But in a defense of these men, they thought, brothers and sisters, that their case was somehow threatened by the fact that there were black preachers in the courtroom. Let me say it again. Black preachers in the courtroom. Somehow, brothers and sisters, they feel like black preachers can influence and intimidate their juries. Let me tell you this. If that was true, African Americans would be the most religious people in the world. We take out ministers and imams everywhere. But here we have people trying to get slick. Sister Tana, come on, bring us in.
It's been nearly 2 years since Ahmaud Arbery, a 25-year-old unarmed black man, was fatally shot while out for a jog in Georgia. Now, the three defendants are on trial for his murder, but one of their lawyers, attorney Kevin Gao, has a problem with the people watching the case. Here's a snippet of what he had to say.
If we're going to start a precedent, starting yesterday, we're going to bring high-profile members of the African-American community into the courtroom to sit with the family during the trial in the presence of the jury. I believe that's intimidating, and it's an attempt to pressure. We don't want any more black pastors coming in here, or other Jesse Jackson, whoever was in here earlier this week, sitting with the victim's family, trying to influence a jury in this case.
Gao's comments were in response to Reverend Al Sharpton having attended a vigil with Arbery's family outside the courthouse. Though, according to CNN, Jesse Jackson has not been involved at all, and Gao even admits to the judge he wasn't even aware Sharpton was ever in the courtroom. But he continues nonetheless, delivering a hypothetical that forces the judge to stop him.
If a bunch of folks came in here dressed like Colonel Sanders with white masks sitting in the back, I mean, that would be good.
Gregory McMichael, his son Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan
tells you I can't. The white judge goes, wait a minute, Colonel Sanders and the white mask, not with chicken, not with biscuits. He's in a mask, brothers. I'm going to say this. This is a problem because I believe, honestly, that it is so absurd that people don't even think that is newsworthy. They don't even think that is newsworthy. That a person talks about black pastors, he don't even know who are traditionally our black pastors, and he can't even separate them from being black leaders. So, brothers and sisters, I don't know what you're doing, where you are, but please, 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 please focus your duas on justice for the Ahmaud Arbery family, because this thing has run them up. I am saying yes, put it in God's hands, because you put it in these white folks' hands, it ain't gonna work out well. That's all I'm saying. I said it here on the Shout Out Show. I meant it. Now let's go ahead and get to the next video. So, Tony, you want to bring that one up? Now, before we run this one, this is a man that committed murder. And watch the subtle technique. We've talked about this. You are guilty. Your defense guy just tried to make Colonel Sanders the Grand Wizard of the KKK. And they put him on the screen, brothers and sisters, to talk to people who have rational thoughts. To them, they don't even believe that people saw what they saw. And this man actually got up on the stand, and this is what he said. Go ahead, Sister Satana. Okay, we got no sound. Okay, we got no sound on that one. So I apologize. We're going to have to work that out, Sister Tana. But essentially what this guy said was, and I'm going to go to this point, that this has become a strategy in a new aspect of white people being victims for committing crimes. This man actually sat on the stand. And let me bring that out. He actually sat on the stand, and this is what he did. He actually talked, brothers and sisters, and I'm going to bring it up. Sister Tana, just sit tight. The guy says, I shot this young man. But what he does next is kind of amazing. He actually wants sympathy. Watch and learn.
It sounds weird when I was first thing hit me. did you do?
I shot.
Why?
He had my gun. He struck me. It was obvious that he was that he was attacking me, that if he would have got the shotgun from me, then it was this is a life or death situation. And I'm going to have to stop him from doing this. So I shot.
Did he stop when you shot?
He did not. No, he did not.
Can you remember everything, every hand, every movement? Can you remember those things?
No, I know that I know that I got hit, and I know that I was
Okay, all right. We gotta stop right there. He was hit. He was threatened. How are you threatened when the person that you're claiming is threatening you is running away from you? That's my point. And I'm going to tell you something, people. In that classroom, not in that classroom, sorry, in that courtroom, but it might as well be a classroom. Theoretically, this is how you explain your mistakes and your aggressions against other people because you believe that the law is on your side. That's all I got to say. This guy, as the interview continues, you know what he does, brothers and sisters? Do you know what he does? He breaks down crying. Like crying is going to bring back these people. He breaks down crying. He lends himself to an emotional response, not of the family's victims. No, not of the victim's families. No, he lends it to that law. He lends it to that space, brothers and sisters, that little space that we never see of what I call white law. He lends himself and he peeks and thinks, I got a little opening in there, and he starts crying. These people are killers. These people are killers. I've seen people go to jail for a lot less and a lot less evidence, brothers and sisters. And here, this is the thing, and this is a joke on justice. That we honestly believe in this system, brothers and sisters, that there's fairness and equity. There's never been fairness and equity. And it's been pushed in our face, brothers and sisters, to the point whereby it's almost folly. I can make jokes about it. Of course, I'm a comedian, but it's only going to come out of the fact that I'm looking at the irony. I'm looking at the irony of these guys saying, well, my client, and this is the big thing about the whole thing about black pastors in the church. You know what they wanted? They wanted a mistrial. They felt like their client or the jury is somehow being influenced. Therefore, they cannot get clearly justice. Well, I got news for you. Ahmaud Arbery can't get justice, neither can his family. And you know what? They're not there to cry. They already cried. They already cried and will continue to cry. But why is it, brothers and sisters, that we tie in? The joke on justice is this. That it's not our justice. As much as we want to believe in it, it's not our justice. I'm not a skeptic, brothers and sisters. I know there's a system, and sometimes the system works. But a lot of times it doesn't. And when it doesn't work, and I'm talking about wide scale doesn't work, we get basically what comedians call comedic gold. Comedy that you can't make up. It's things that you see. It's things that you see here on television. You can't make it up. So let me go to the next one. Let me bring that back. So let me see which one Sister Sultana has. Sister Sultana, come on in for a minute, if you don't mind. We haven't given her a shine this week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you've seen these videos,
Walaikum assalam.
Walaikum assalam. I just said, how does this happen? Like, if I was a lawyer in a courtroom and another lawyer says, we don't want any more black pastors in here, that's one thing. Two, he says that the black pastors are threatening to his clients. That's another thing. And number three, he goes, how would you feel if Colonel Sanders came in here with a white mask on? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think the whole situation, well, first of all, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to everyone, to preacher and everyone. to our shout out show community. Yeah, but this whole week has been just a real debacle in the American justice system. I thrown into the chat that even as of today, it was like
Yes,
56 years.
they've been
Um,
exonerated for the murder of Malcolm X.
yeah,
We knew that years ago.
right, exactly. Yeah, we knew that, right? We
And
knew
they
that.
threw it out like they should
Yeah,
get a medal on it. I don't
right.
even know how old they are. They're like 142 years old.
Yeah,
They can't
yeah.
even celebrate. I
It's
mean,
so
and there's
sad.
nothing to celebrate. And I want to say this very
Not at
carefully
all.
because you have people who do large amounts of time only after 27, 32 years to come out of prison because they were wrongfully convicted.
Yeah, yeah. And
Not,
thanks
you
to
say wrongfully convicted, but they don't say maliciously convicted.
right, right. And
So I mean,
thanks to organizations like the Innocence Project, who they work on these types of cases. But there are so many cases, and I mean, and even I think back to this kind of war on drugs, right? And the many people that are in prison, and I think you touched on it earlier this week, or actually yesterday, right, with the drugs, right? And so now it's a profitable business, right? Where these
yeah,
same lawmakers, Bonner, Bonner, you know, who
just
are profiting
just
off of this. And
making major dough.
sure, and 30
I mean,
years
that's
ago,
number
he was
one.
one of the ones that were, saying, yes, send them to jail, was criminalizing this,
I literally
yeah.
have transcripts of John Bonner
Hmm.
sending weed sellers to jail for like life,
Yeah.
damn near life.
Yeah.
This
And
is the guy
now
talking
he,
about how it's affecting children and da da da. I mean,
yeah.
the legislation is there. And guess what? When distilleries open up, dispensaries open up, and they're willing to, they now they have the legal wherewithal
Sure.
to do
Sure.
medical marijuana. He was the first one in line.
Legal and monetary. Absolutely. Yeah.
The first
Yeah.
one in line. I'm like, this
Absolutely.
is I used to joke about I wear a suit to court, so I look more like a lawyer. I said, and I used to say, when I go to court, I'm just making an appearance. I don't think I'm going to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the joke, but this is the reality. This is reality, and I think it's tough to watch. To me, I feel like it's tough to watch because these guys. I want to say it, and I want to say it the clearest term. They could walk.
Oh, for sure. Oh,
They
no, they're
could
setting up
walk.
and
The judge in the case up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, has
mhm.
done everything to me to tilt this thing so that Rittenhouse walks. They have
Yeah.
given him platform after platform after platform. I don't even know if people realize the consultant for jury consulting, the consultant to do jury selection is the same one that OJ used in his case. So they got the jury consultant
Okay.
from OJ's case to do this case.
Wow.
Now, here's my thing. Where's that money come from? This is Kenosha, Wisconsin. This is an
Yeah.
18-year-old
Yeah.
kid.
Like who's behind this? That's the thing. That's the thing. For the judge from the drop, like from day one, like the judge just made some crazy precedents in this, whether it was like the lottery system, and
A
then
lot of it. Like
then
a pick six, like a scratch off.
like exactly
Three. I got 3 white jurors.
right. And when he got to pick, who does that?
Nobody does that.
Rittenhouse got to pick who he wanted to be. Like, who does that? Like, who does that? So it's I think that a lot of this, they're setting precedents for a lot of this, and I feel like they're kind of giving us stuff, like, so they're giving us like the exoneration, they're giving us the Julius, they're not executing Julius Jones, right? And then they're going to come back and say, okay, you know what, Rittenhouse is walking.
People should go to juliusjones.com to get that whole story.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, juliusjones.com. But my point is, I want to say the American justice system has become largely theater now, and it's a theater of the absurd. There's no way, and I followed the case. Someone said, "Oh, are you obsessed about Ahmaud Arbery?" I'm like, no. I'm not obsessed. I said, but the homework is there. This same defense team tried to cite a Civil War statute
That-
to
yeah.
justify their shooting of this man, which was it was really a slave catcher statute. I don't know if people even realize that.
An overseer, yeah.
It was a slave statute catcher
Yeah.
where white folk could just do whatever they wanted to African Americans. They were property at this point in time. So it's not like you bringing back a human life. It's like you bringing back a Coach bag, or you bringing back
assets. Yeah.
And so so those are assets. So I'm gonna do this other one because I know we're running out of time.
Okay.
So I'm gonna bring it in.
All right.
We'll just deal with this one real quick.
All right.
Brothers and sisters. So the gentleman in the screen right here, this is Kyle Rittenhouse. Now you guys know all about Kyle Rittenhouse, the protests that were going on in Kenosha earlier this year with Mr. Blake, who was shot by Kenosha police. He's paralyzed, and I think they're still trying to send him to jail. So this young man during a night of civil unrest drove over from a spot with Waukegan, Illinois, into Kenosha, which was maybe about 30 miles. I got to make sure it's Waukegan, but he drove roughly about 20 to 30 miles over there and bought a firearm. Now, when you bring a firearm to a peaceful protest and you're not the police, I don't want to be one of those people, but I'm going to question your intentions. The only other intention I'm going to question is the police that watched this young kid who was 17 at the time essentially walk around with a firearm. They let him walk around with a firearm. I know Negroes can't walk around with good intentions or a great idea without getting arrested. He walked around with a whole firearm. And guess what, brothers and sisters? The trouble he's looking for, it didn't find him. He found it and he killed 3 people. He killed 3 white people. Well, he shot 3 white people, killed 2 of them. But here's the boner, brothers and sisters. Here's the creme de la creme. I must show this to you, and I want you to pay close attention to the strategy. I call this, you've heard of the big lie? I call this the big cry.
Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side. And I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski. And there were there were 3 people right there. That's what that's what I run.
Time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir. We're going to take a break about 10 minutes, and please don't talk about the case during the break. Read, watch, or listen to any comment.
Here we go. I say you heard of the big lie. That's the big cry. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. I'm not a betting man. But Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm going to say this, and I hope people repeat this to you. You must have a lot of confidence in your lawyers in your case. You must have a lot of confidence that you're going to get off. Because that crying right there, let me break something down to you. I don't know if your attorneys told you this, but that crying, that boo-hooing, and all that stuff on top of everything you did, let me tell you something. They have television in prison. They have television in prison. And there are dudes in prison who are going to want to comfort you about that crying. I can hear people giving you prison nicknames. Soft Scrub, Hubba Bubba. My point, brothers and sisters, would be this. It's a great act, but it doesn't make you innocent. You're a killer. You've been a killer. So my point is, even with that judge, brothers and sisters, I am going to roll the dice. The verdict is in the hands of the jury right now. Satana, I'm going to make a prediction. I think that the jury is going to do the right thing. This guy has multiple cases of first-degree murder, attempted murder. I mean, he can't walk on everything. All right? So, Satana, let me look in the screen. Do you think he's going to walk? You can come in real quick. Is he walking or is he not walking?
Sorry, I don't have faith.
You think he's going to walk?
I think he's going to walk, yeah.
Okay, well,
I think they're setting it up. They are, yeah.
And I'm going to, if he walks, I'm going to tell all you brothers out there not doing the right thing, doing crime, you know, your day in court may come. What I'm going to suggest is that you study every inch of tape of that white man crying, and maybe you'll get off too. That's our show. Sister Tana, let's go ahead and get to our sponsors. Brothers and sisters, we want to give a shout out to BeFinancialIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinancialIndependent.com. Find out about your financial situation. Do an assessment of where your money is and where you want your money to be. Brothers and sisters, it's a thing about making money, and there's another thing about making money work for you. Again, BeFinancialIndependent.com. You can call 1-888-496-6845. Again, that's 1-888-496-6845. Also, if you're thinking about expanding your religious or theological understanding of life, situational life situations and placement and assessment, you got to check out Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Again, that's Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Now, a lot of people go, I'm not trying to be an imam. Neither was I. However, what I learned was sometimes you can take faith and marry it to the things that you're doing, and you can create a better product. You can create a better approach to some of the things that you're seeing. So if you're activist, or if you're a teacher, or you're a philosopher, or even you're just someone in the community that just wants to see things get better, you got a foundational understanding with Bayan, and I suggest everybody check them out. Go to bayanonline.org, and that's bayanonline.org. Okay, brothers and sisters, before I get out of here, I want to make sure that we give a shout out, a sincere shout out to the family of Ahmed Arbery, a sincere shout out to the family of Julius Jones, a sincere shout out to the people who were affected in Kenosha, your families. We pray you're well. Brothers and sisters, sometimes in comedy, there's a lot of irony. And we just had to point the irony out. And the only reason I wanted to do it today is because there's a danger that we'll forget what we're actually talking about. I'm Preach. This is Shout Out Show. See you next week. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm out. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, team, we've come to the end of yet another show. And I have to say I had a good time, and I hope that you had a good time as well. Listen, at this part of the show, we have no more show. I could literally sing a song saying we have no more show. However, to spare all of us that embarrassment and chaos, I'm just going to say, please join us tomorrow here on the Shout Out Show, Monday through Thursdays, and every first Saturday, we do our Saturday Spotlight. Here we are again, 5 to 5:30 on the Central Time. And of course, we're going to do our rebroadcasts at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock p.m. And of course, that would be 6 o'clock on the West Coast. So, time for you to go, because it's time for me to go. I think I will do that song. Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for coming to the show. That's all the lyrics I wrote. But you get the idea. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum. Shout out.